Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is doing great. God is good. He blessed us, to be alive today. So that's something good. The previous Mondays before, we talked about how our five senses plays a huge role in the struggles we have today. Um, as I said before, we went over, the sight and what we see and hearing and, touching and how all of that plays in a big role on how we struggle today. So today we're going to be talking about chemistry and sex. Okay, so when I first when I was looking at the titles in the book, I more so when I seen chemistry and sex, the first thing I thought of is like, wow, like when you truly, like a person, is chemistry there. That's always the word used when two individuals are really feeling each other. They be like, the chemistry we have, I don't have this chemistry with, another person like I have with this person. So, you know, I looked up chemistry, the Google definition, and it gave two. It said the branch of science that deals with the identification of the substance of which matter is composed, the investigation of their properties, and the ways in which they interact, combine, and change, and the use of these processes to form new substances. And then this is what stuck out to me. It more so dealt with what we're talking about, well, what we're going to be talking about today. It's the complex emotional or psychological interaction between two people. And they gave an example, and they said their affair was triggered by intense sexual chemistry. So obviously, sex or any sexual interaction involves chemistry. Okay, so I also looked up sex, and I'm pretty sure everyone knows what sex is. And it said sexual activity, including specifically sexual intercourse. Okay, so we're dealing with the body. So knowing that the body is made up of 70% of liquids. So we have water, sperm is in our body, silica, pus, blood, sweat, testosterone, tears, menstrual fluid, and etc. Okay, so knowing that that is in us is not something that you just open mind and say, wow, this plays a role in why I struggle today. In our nature, it's very normal. It's normal to like the opposite sex. Now, if you like in the same sex, then that's not right. So it's normal to be attracted, or drawn to the opposite sex because it's in our nature to like a male. So many times we really can't understand when certain things take place in our bodies, especially when you're in the midst of connecting with the individual. Now, when you really are into a person and you're spending time with the person, you don't really think too much into your struggles, because you're enjoying the conversation, the time that you guys are spending. So you're not really too drawn to, okay, if you're not paying attention to a lot of things, and it can happen to all of us. Okay, so knowing that certain things in our body, like, okay, so chemistry, our body has chemicals in it. So when you cry, okay, when you're happy, mad, or sad, 9 times out of 10, a person cry when they're mad, they cry when they're sad. And you notice that your body produces, tears. So it's a chemical that is produced when something has interrupted it. So it's the same thing how those chemicals can be released in our bodies when we're wanting sex as a woman, just being transparent. When you're really into a person, and I do not engage in sexual activity before marriage. However, it does happen. So like when even if sex is not on your mind, two individuals, you're attracted to them already. So now you're drawn to them, but you're more so, you can sometimes become enticed, which means to want to be attached to what you're drawn to. So sometimes you can be enticed by an individual. So as a woman, all of that can be, a cause of these chemicals to come out. So even though sex is not mentioned, or, you guys are just going out to eat, doing little things that's not sinful, but yet those little things can, erupt something in you, and you will notice that sometimes, it can cause the natural lubricant that women have to come out because of the chemicals, that was taking place in our body. So that really stood out to me, because sometimes you don't think too much, like, wow, I have a chemical in me that can get me to a certain point to want me to have sex. You don't think about that, because it's not something I'm finna just sit down and think about. Even myself, I can truly say that I'm not finna sit here and sit down and be like, wow, this, I feel this way, or, you get technical with things. Oh, this is why I'm feeling this way. This chemical, all I know is, I'm feeling this person, and I wouldn't mind being attached to that person. That be the mindset then. You don't really think too technical on why, these things take place. But now reading The Struggle is Real, I can truly say that, it opens up my mind to a bigger, way of thinking. Now, I no longer just see the body. It's good to study your own body, because everybody body is different. But as a young woman, it's good to know yourself, because you would know how to kind of, use strategy so that you wouldn't fall into certain areas. Because sometimes, even when I was in the world, I noticed that I always say I didn't think too deep into, my five senses playing a huge role. And what I used to struggle with, because, I didn't live by anyone's rules. I was more so considered wild, But now, as a saved young woman, I can truly say, okay, so not having the guidance and like reading The Struggle is Real, it more so shows me, okay, so if you want to be saved, it can be done. Now just pay attention to your body. Pay attention, okay, you're vulnerable during this stage. Okay, it's like you really can be enlightened on things. So the thing about sex is more so a feeling, of course. It's a feeling that you want to feel after a while. It's more so when these chemicals, the chemistry that, erupts inside of us. Sex can have a good feeling and it can have a bad feeling, especially when you're trying to be saved, because when you really want to be saved, although sex can be one of the struggles, 9 times out of 10, even if you do fall into fornication, it's more so you did it, but in your mind, you really like, I don't want to fulfill this. But we really have to take heed to things like, okay, you fulfilled it, because once that chemical is reacted in your body, it wants to be released, because now you woke it up. Now, it would be crazy if you cry and the tears stay behind. Like, okay, I want the tears to fall. Like, I'm sad right now. The tears holding, like, they won't drip. It would be kind of weird, right? So when the tears come, they have to be released. It's I can truly say after I cry, sometimes it feels like a different type of release. I feel the pressure of when I do be trying to hold my tears, because I don't want people to see me cry. And then it's just like, boom, soon as I release it, wow, I feel a difference. So it's the same way with the chemicals that kind of interact with sex. So it's like that pre-stage before sex. So when you awake these things, they don't want to be in your body anymore, because they're designed to be out of your body. So that's why, it's so important to not get caught up into certain conversations, certain things. Be mindful of what you watch, and be mindful of the people that you be around. Just conversing, period. Even though conversing is not a sin, but sometimes conversation can really set the mood. Sometimes we can try to overlook things, but just being honest, when you sit down and you're talking, just saying, just because you're attracted to a person don't necessarily mean you want to be with that person. You can have an attraction. It don't necessarily have to be like a sinful lust. Lust is not always bad, but it's when you want to be attached to that. So, when you're sitting down and you steady, just using this as an example, you steady talking to this brother, it was already physical attraction. Now, you both are conversing, finding out more about one another, and, attraction start to take another level, and you think it's just conversation, but now before, when you seen him, you didn't get butterflies, the term we use. Honestly, now when I think about it, when I think about butterflies, is it a chemical? It makes me think after, reading this chapter. Is that a chemical that's released in my body of why I feel that way? And is that why we use the term, oh, he give me butterflies? Because honestly, that's the only time I got it, is when I was around, an individual that I really wanted to be with. You get what I'm saying? So it's just like, it makes me wonder if that's why we say that, because that chemical, goes off and it makes you almost feel a little weak. Y'all know how butterflies feel. Okay, so, even though conversing is not a sin, it's so important that we watch, who we talk to or how we talk to certain conversations. Now, I done heard several people, say, they don't talk to people after 12. You get what I'm saying? And even when I was in the world, they always said after 12 p.m. it's nothing open, but Walmart ain't even open no more. But they be like McDonald's and legs. That was a common saying when I was in the world. So hearing, saved sisters say, they're not being too deep, but when you think about it, everyone is not the same. But sometimes that hour, the late hours, a lot of things get done in the late hours. I mean, being in the world, I can honestly say that's when I came out. I'm clubbing at those times. I'm doing things that didn't mean me no good in that particular time. And honestly, it probably set a different mood versus the daytime. It's night or whatever. So, it's good to look at all of that. So with sex, the role in sexual desire in a role, like, being a rose, like, I'll say we don't really, think too much in it. I had start thinking, I was like, okay, when a woman is on her menstrual cycle, we are unbalanced creatures. We are not stable during that time period of our lives. And sometimes, if you don't pay attention to your body at that particular time, you can kind of fall into things that you don't want to fall into. So, after a woman is done and she's in her ovulating season, it's more so like a mating feel. You naturally want to be, involved with an individual, or you see that your hormones are, a little up and down. But honestly, that's because estrogen and testosterone, all of that, the increase of that, it be higher than usual. So that's why it's so important to know who you are, because if you don't, then you can fall. So know when you're not, know yourself. That's all I'm trying to say. Be real with yourself, because at times like this, you can fall. And sometimes you think, okay, wow, you're not really paying too much attention. Now, we use that scripture, watch and pray, but we don't really watch. We just pray. So if God telling us to watch and pray, I need to watch my body. I don't take that scripture lightly, because honestly, half of the things that we don't watch be the reason why we struggle. So as a young woman, or just a woman period, like, who wants to be saved, find out your weak moments, your vulnerable moments. What do you crave the most? Because honestly, after your menstrual cycle or during, you be vulnerable. You want to be catered to. Sometimes people want to be baby. It's more so that feeling of a person wanting you, like you want that attention, So sometimes you can crave that during that time. And as a saved young woman, you don't need that, So you need to learn yourself and learn how to not be putting yourself out there during that particular time. So it will help with your struggles, because now you know that you're unbalanced right now. You're not really yourself, sis, because we can be emotional, unstable creatures, but being that takes a role in our body every month. learn yourself and see, okay, even if you did fall, okay, during this particular time, I fell, but okay, let me watch and see why I fell. Okay, I see. Every time I come on, I feel a little more emotional. It's the fact that having higher levels of estrogen in the body promotes vaginal lubrication, and sometimes that can increase the sexual desire. So knowing that all of these chemicals that's in us, it comes in us. So at the end of the day, what we can prevent from happening is those being woke up. You crying because it's like, okay, I want to live saved, but I'm really having this strong desire to fornicate. I'm really having this strong desire to just be touched in this area, but it's because you woke up something in your flesh, and honestly, the chemicals want to be released. That's the whole thing about sex, is a feeling of reaching a peak, and then that feeling goes away, and the body wants that. So that's why I say, if you are a virgin, please stay a virgin. It's a beautiful thing, because you don't want to wake up something in your flesh, and being that your flesh never really had it, you may want to keep doing it. Just being honest. So please keep it. Like, I'm being real with you. Keep it, because once you wake it up in your flesh, your body gonna want it. It's as simple as that. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Okay, so I feel like in many cases, I believe us women do not take the time out to examine ourselves, and I say that because honestly, I was the same way. And as I said before with the menstrual, pay attention to that as well. But we can be very emotional sometimes, and we can live in our emotions at particular times and not reality. So sometimes, the struggles that we have today, look at yourself. I'll say look at yourself, because I honestly, reading this chapter, when it's talking about the chemicals that's in our body and how it promotes the chemistry, which, can promote a sexual sensation in the body of you wanting to be connected to the opposite sex, is more so like, wow, I ain't know that all these chemicals in me. Like, you don't think too deep into this stuff. So, that's why it's very important to, look at your five senses now, because like, okay, when I watch this certain thing, when I watch this TV show, I feel some type of way. I find myself watching all these romantic things, even though it's not a sin to watch, romantic things, love, marriage is beautiful, but it's just like, you're a single sister. You're not even in a stage of courting or talking about marriage, and you're waking up something in your flesh that you cannot handle. So now you're changing your appetite. You starting to create different desires in you. So you watching this, you're feeding this into your spirit. So now you're hungry for, that hug. So now you're vulnerable to that touch, and that all comes to what we watch, what we hear, music we listen to, and all of that. Like, that's why it's not good to sit up here. You sit up here making these TikToks to R&B music and wondering why you feeling the urge of wanting to have sex. It's R&B music. Half of the time, that's all they talk about is sex. You think it's innocent because you're just doing a TikTok. Oh, I'm not bothering nobody, but you listening to the music because you have to listen to the music in order to get the right move to the beat. So you listening to the music. So you don't realize that, wow, I'm listening to this and I feel like I want to have sex. Your appetite is starting to change. So it's so important to notice what we're feeding ourselves. I read this in the book, and it said that if a child of God is to get victory, he or she has to know what to do to keep the chemical from being produced. If this chemical is, I'm sorry, I lost my spot. If this chemical is never produced, you'll never have to deal with painful, unfulfilled lust. Listen, it's one thing when you create the lust and you are able to feel it. In the world, you create your lust, you planning on fulfilling it. You make plans to fulfill it. But as a saved young woman, you can't do what you used to do in the world. You can't just get up and, you can, but you ain't going to be saved. You're not going to be sanctified. So when you want to be saved and you're creating certain things within yourself, you letting these chemicals be produced in you, And now your nature wants to let it be fulfilled, but your spirit is saying, I want to be saved. So it's just like, if you don't get it to the point to where it is lust in your body that wants to come out, then you will be good. So literally watch what you're watching, watch who you talk to, watch where the conversation head. I notice that sometimes as young women, we can be out and about. It's normal for sometimes dudes to get brought up in the conversation, not meaning no harm. We are females. But however, if you see that that's all y'all talk about, and you feel some type of way, you feel a little, some type of way in your flesh, change the subject. Don't sit up here and put yourself in predicaments of when you're alone, you feel the need that you may send that I miss you text, or you may just, provoke something else. You may take another inch, because that's all you need is an inch. When it comes to sin, it's so easy to get into. So it's just like, instead of getting to that point, let's try to not, let this lust be produced. Let this chemical be produced in our body, because when it does, it wants to come out. And it's not a comfortable feeling. You're not going to be able to have the peace that you want. You're going to feel ill, because it's just like, wow, I want to live safe, but I want to have sex right now. Like, even though sex is in our nature, it is a sin when you're not married, but it's like, wow, I just want to get this off. That's all because it's literally a chemical that we created in our body of wanting to be attached. Okay, so reading certain things in this book, it really stuck out to me. I didn't highlight it, but I encourage you to get this book, because it really does help with a lot of things. But right here, I'm going to read this. It says, many men and women experience this sexual burning, and this is a painful feeling. It's really not a good feeling, but it's nature. It's a chemical reaction, and it's no worse than a man that has acid thrown on him. It's worse than tear gas. All of the power or a struggle sexually must be on keeping our bodies from producing chemicals. This goes again to the eyes, the ears, the nose, taste, and touch. There must be within us a conscience of what caused these things, and then a strategy to prevent them. So it's just, you can't really go around it. You really have to be real with yourself, because honestly, when you sit up here and lie to yourself, sis, now you feel some type of way when you're around this brother. Y'all ain't got no business being alone. Like, be real with yourself. You trying to be saved, but sometimes, even wanting to be saved, you don't want to listen all the time. So sometimes you can try to ignore the good in you, and to fulfill this lust, because it's just like, I want to do this. Like, okay, it feel good. I mean, it's in our nature. It feels good to have that feeling of the opposite sex, of course. And sometimes you can ignore the good in you, and you end up creating something in you, and then now you're all over the place. You're unstable in your emotions, you're unstable with your thinking, you feel like you ain't saved no more. So let's really be real with ourselves. So knowing that, our hormones as women, period, we are emotional creatures, and we can be unstable. So it's good to not think out of our emotions. So also, as I stated previously, hormones are everywhere when you're on your menstrual cycle. It's up and down. You don't know if you're sad, happy, you're vulnerable, you want this, you want that, you want to touch of a man, you want to cuddle, you want to do all of those things. But what stuck out to me is, hearing compliments all the time, like as a young woman, it don't really, like, hearing you beautiful, I don't think every brother who called me beautiful want me. I don't. I really don't. But sometimes hearing a compliment from someone you're already attracted to can become addictive. Sometimes that can create a chemical as well inside of you. I did it before. You attracted to a person, y'all flirt here and there. The flirt ain't really that big, but y'all flirt. Y'all look at each other. Y'all make plenty of eye contact. You texting, you conversing, and they complimenting you. It's not the same as the person saying, "Oh, sis, you look nice today," but this compliment is like, "You look good." So it's just like, oh, he said I look good. Like, like, oh, I like him. He said I look good. Okay, so it's just like, okay, I'm going to try to, I see that he like this outfit. I'm not going to wear the same one, but I'm going to wear something similar because, he said that he liked this, and sometimes you can find yourself doing that, and it can become addictive, and you're not knowing that you're creating the chemical to be produced inside of you, and you wonder why you want to be sexually connected to a person, because listen, it's real. In James chapter 1 verse 14, it reads, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. And so every one of us is tempted. That's stated in the Bible. We all have lust, are as a young woman, especially when you're trying to be saved, because if you don't, you could be so focused on paying attention to other things and not knowing who you really are, and then not knowing why you're falling. You won't really get the help that you need if you do not know who you are. So really examine yourself, pay attention to yourself in all seasons of your life, because sometimes, you can be drawn away of your own lust if you don't. And I love this scripture because it says and enticed. So obviously being drawn and enticed are two different things. So being enticed, is when you want to be connected to whatever you're drawn to. Like you want to be with that, you want some of that type thing. So it's just like, be careful, y'all. Like, honestly, I can truly say, it kind of enlightened me when I did read about the chemistry in sex. I'm like, okay, I know that, it's chemistry between two people when they like each other, but come on now, I didn't really think too deep into chemicals being produced in my body. And wow, now I want to fulfill it. Like, now I want to hug a different way. I want to, be held. I feel some type of way right now. So it's so important to really, truly, y'all, like, for real, pay attention to who you are as a young woman. I can truly say that reading this book, y'all, this is where it's at. I really encourage you to purchase the book, The Struggle is Real, because when you can read it on your own, see, it's a difference, because he has scriptures in here that you can go back and refer to and everything, and you can really study it on a whole nother level. So I encourage you to get this book because it is a good book to have, to possess, I'll say. So knowing the spirit things are done in can be important with this walk with God, because as I said before, I'm just going to use compliments as an example. Okay, a person saying you're beautiful, come on now. Everybody that think you look good does not mean that they want you. Like, it's vice versa. Just because a sister say, you look good, it does not mean that she wants you. But you have to know the spirit is done. And sometimes we can lie to ourselves, when a person's saying, oh, you look good, or you look like a snack. A snack is meant to be ate. So if a brother's saying you look like a snack, you need to kind of, retract that thing, because snacks get ate. And if you look like a snack, honey, then, be real. Be real. It's the difference from being, oh, sis, you look very nice today. You look very classy. Then you look like a snack. You better check that compliment, sis. It's not the compliment itself. It's more so the spirit that's done behind it. Even when a person just say, oh, you look beautiful, that's okay. Oh, you look beautiful. It's the spirit is done behind. So I'll say, really be mindful of these things, knowing that, okay, you don't want to produce this lust in you, so pay attention to what you watch. If he make you feel some type of way after talking to him after 12, cut the conversation off. Don't talk to him, period. Find something to do. Listen, pray. Listen, put on apostle. Put on apostle. At 12, to prevent yourself from doing things, literally learn strategy within all of this, because honey, it's a different feeling of when you can fulfill your lust. But when you can't fulfill your lust and you're really trying to be saved, you created this chemical reaction in your body, and now it wants to come out of you. So just be mindful of what I said today, because it really can help you. Like, it's not lame to really pay attention to who you are. Like, the five senses plays a huge role. Listen,
It really do. So be mindful. I'll just say really, really be mindful. And I hope that this helps somebody on today. And as I always say, you can inbox me on my Facebook. I have two, and it's okay. You can inbox both. My name is Alexis Middlebrooks. And if you want advice or you just want to chit chat about certain things, we definitely can. And I hope everyone enjoy the rest of their afternoon. Have a good day.